based on second chances. Will it be a chance to get back into the mix as a heavyweight prospect for Rhode Island's very own Jason Estrada? A chance for Lance Whitaker to regain his heavyweight contender status. Which way will it go? Jason Estrada had it all lined up. The role of Team USA Olympic heavyweight has been filled by legends. In 2004, Estrada's summer game performance didn't meet those standards. He fell behind early to a Cuban rival and never rallied to close the gap. Instead, he offered up this post-match quote: "If I'm going to lose getting hit as little as possible. I'd rather not get hit at all." In retrospect, now he points to a flawed game plan.
If I can regret anything, it would be listening to my coaches during the Olympic Games. You know, I could have just went out there and did my own thing, but, you know, things happen and you end up sticking with a game plan you're supposed to stick with, and the game plan didn't work, and I got drilled for it. But if there was something I could actually change and I regret, that would be it.
As a prize fighter, he has showed the skill to win, but not always the will to win in the form of a fan-friendly pro style. After suffering his first loss in November 2006, he topped Zach Page to start a new win streak in which he's dropped extra weight.
It's almost impossible to silence critics until your boxing career is over. Then you're considered, you know, great, good, or whatever category they're going to put you in. But I'm just trying to just do the best that I can and use the God-given talent that I have.
He will have to do the best he can to get by the more experienced 6'8" Lance Whitaker. Mount Whitaker's prime was 2001. He had been in against the heavyweight division's contenders at the time, stopping Stewart, losing to Savarese, beating Barrett, KOing Moskaev, and a decision loss to McCline. His most recent big fight came in December 2005. It was against the then unbeaten Sultan Ibragimov. The smaller man scored knockdowns early before a cut stopped the fight in the 7th. Estrada isn't impressed.
To me, Lance Whitaker is just a big guy, and then now that I see him in person, they stretch the size out on him because he's not 6'8". So I honestly just think I see him as another man out there who wants to win, just like I want to win. I just think I'm the better fighter.
We will see about that. Lance Whitaker and Jason Estrada. And there is a new look Lance Whitaker, down to 239 pounds at 6'8", 32-4-1 with 27 knockouts. And that 239, that's a little number for Lance. In fact, he's fought as high as 281. His weight for the past two fights, 272 against Sultan, 260 just this past February. Now he says he's faster and he's better. Jason Estrada, no stranger to weight issues. He ballooned up before those 04 Olympic Games. Now the 27-year-old says that he's at the weight that suits him best at 239, 6'1", 239, 11-1, just 2 knockouts. His last 5 fights, it starts off with a disappointing lackluster effort against fellow heavyweight hopeful Travis Walker. Finishes up with a more spirited effort this past January. And Teddy Atlas gets us ready for our heavyweight main event with the fight plan sponsored by AutoZone.
Well, college basketball's Final Four here this weekend. I figured, hey, it's a numbers game, right? You got 4 teams left, 4 number ones. Why not use a heavy bag who goes by the numbers? Every number correlates to a punch. And after all, Whitaker, who's in the main event, sometimes at 6'8", he pretends he's a heavy bag. He covers up, and you can pound on him. And I'm going to play Estrada. Estrada, I think, should pound on him with a number 4, a right uppercut. Split the guard when he's covering up. Right here. Bang. So tonight, expect Estrada, when he sees that big heavy bag in front of him, throw that right uppercut. He might not go and cut down the nets, but he'll put his hand up, and he'll be the winner. My man Saul got a little sensitive that he thought he was being replaced by a heavy bag. Saul, I would never replace you with a heavy bag. Come on in here. And anyway, you look like you could use a little heavy bag workout, so come over here. Matter of fact, I'm going to let you be Whitaker. I'm letting you do some hitting on the bag. All right, now I noticed that I'm going to be Estrada. I noticed that his jab is a little bit slow sometimes. He could be timed with a right hand right over. Number 2 is a straight right hand. That's what it calls for. A little bit of a soap bang. Hey, not bad. Straight right hand over that slow jab. And if you're Whitaker and you do that, well, at 6'8", maybe you don't get a slam dunk, but you get a win.
That's a good-looking signature on the middle of that heavy bag right there. Joe Lapina's the referee. It's a 10-rounder.
Both of you. and I already established the belt lines. All right, touch them up. Good luck. God bless. We're going 10 rounds.
The ring experience between Estrada and Whitaker. Estrada's experience all in the amateurs obviously made it to the Olympics. Whitaker's experience, well, the majority of that work you see there, remember his prime was 7 years ago in that 12-year career. His recent work, he fought Sultan in 2005, was TKO'd, then came back just this February and won a first-round TKO. So only that one round of action dating back to December 2005. Jason Estrada in the red, Lance Whitaker in the black.
Yeah, Whitaker before his last fight off over 2 years. And as we talked about, he's 21 pounds, Whitaker, 21 pounds lighter than his last fight 1.5 months ago. I don't know if that's good or bad. We'll find out.
Estrada scored early on with a left hook.
I mean, the obvious, Joe, a lot of people say, well, that's great, you know. But is it window dressing, or is there real inventory back there beyond the window? What I mean by that is, you see a guy 21 pounds less, you say, wow, he's got to be stronger, he's got to be better endurance, a little faster, but maybe he's weaker. Maybe he took the weight off too quick. We'll find out.
A little more willing Jason Estrada in this opening minute than we've seen before, and that's a good sign.
Well, I talked about the right uppercut being there for Estrada. Straight right hands, and that was a looping one, but straight right hands I think are going to be there for Estrada too, because I talked about sometimes you can catch Estrada with the right hand, and that's what Whitaker's going to have to do. It's his best punch, but you can catch Whitaker with right hands, his jab a little slow.
Whitaker now sends a right hand to the body of Estrada. Estrada shakes it off and comes back with a 1-2 of his own.
Again, Estrada's got quick hands. And you know, I agree with one thing about Estrada. He's got 300 amateur fights, so you know he's calm in that ring, he's confident in that ring. He wasn't worried about the size, the 6'8" size of Whitaker. He was saying he was smaller. Now, he's not really smaller than 6'8". Legitimately, he's 6'8". But Estrada's right, Joe. He is smaller. He gives up his height.
Whitaker, he fights that way.
He does not fight tall. He doesn't make you go and deal with his height. He comes right in, like he's doing right now, into the wheelhouse of the shorter man.
Well, and there are the jab numbers that show you that Whitaker yet to land a jab. The 6'8" fighter against the 6'1" fighter. And so far, Punch Track does not have a jab landed for Whitaker.
Well, you see the heavy bag imitation of Whitaker. His defense is just to cover up. And when you just cover up with somebody who can put punches together, well, you leave a lot of opportunities for Estrada to go to work.
Estrada comes in with a right hand. Whitaker pushes him back.
You know, I noticed Estrada is thinking in there a little bit. He's not just fast hands. He's got a little bit of a fast brain right now, Joe, because he's noticing that Whitaker keeps those gloves up, and there's no target in the conventional sets right down the middle, so he's going around the gloves. Estrada throwing those looping shots to get around the gloves of Whitaker.
Productive opening round for Jason Estrada. Joe Tessitore and Teddy Atlas with you on Friday Night Fights, just north of Providence, Rhode Island. We are here at Twin Rivers Event Center, and the local favorite is Jason Estrada, 2004 Olympian. In that first round, he landed 29 of the 73 punches he sent out. He was a 3-time national amateur champ, but his pro career has come with a big dose of criticism. But here now he thinks he has straightened things out, dedicated himself to get to a more suitable weight and to take on a more active pro style in the ring, a style that served him well in this opening round against Lance Whitaker. Teddy, I'd love to get your thoughts on what Estrada described to us as his new training regimen, and that's that he no longer works 3-minute rounds of sparring, but rather tries to go for 24 consecutive minutes of sparring.
Well, I'm sure they picked their spots for that. All I can say is that the one loss for Estrada was an 8-round majority decision, and he was a career-high 257 pounds. All I can say is, and it probably is what helped bring up that approach that you just talked about, working all those minutes straight through. It seemed to wake him up as far as his conditioning. You know, it made him realize that he had to get a better work ethic And tonight he's showing that, being 239 pounds.
Is that something that you ever did in your long and successful career as a trainer, where you extended a guy's sparring that many rounds or even into the double-digit minutes like that?
And look, it's one thing to say that's what they're doing. It's another thing for us to have a witness in the gym that says, hey, yeah, that's exactly what they did. I'm not saying they're liars, but, you know, maybe it wasn't quite to that extent. Maybe it was. But if it was, believe me, that was the whole workout for the day.
That's it, yeah.
There's nothing else to it. And then you might even take a day off the next day, not to over-push yourself where you could get to that dangerous place where you start leaving it in the gym. But to answer your question, I have gone longer than 3-minute rounds. Never that kind of length.
It was a good combination moments ago with Estrada fighting off of the ropes. He doubled up the left hand, came back with a right hand, and now Whitaker is trying to show some power and smother Estrada. Estrada comes with a combination that included a right uppercut and then backs him up with a left hook.
Again, in the fight plan, we talked about that right uppercut for Estrada, and it's there because there's a lot of target from Whitaker, and he covers up, and you can split that guard.
Jason Estrada fighting off the ropes. More of our heavyweight main event when we return to Friday Night Fights. Son, Zach and Steve Diassi, who share more than just a last name. Father and sons with Super Bowl rings. Zach, the long snapper on this year's world champion New York Giants, and they are ringside here for Friday Night Fights. A couple of New England collegiate guys. Zach went to Brown, Steve went to BC, and they have come here to Rhode Island to see Jason Estrada taking on Lance Whitaker in round number 3. You know, you talk about boxers who just, you know, concentrate on doing something good and they can make a career out of it. A guy's got a jab and some defense. The Diassis, they long snap. They make these long NFL successful careers out of it.
That's not bad. Like Mariano Rivera, the great relief pitcher, makes a career, a legendary career, basically out of one pitch. There's that looping right hand. Again, you're going to see it from Estrada. He'll throw it straight sometimes, but I think there's a purpose to him throwing it looping tonight because those gloves are up, and he figures the best way to find something is to go around the glove.
Right uppercut, left hook.
Again, that uppercut, I believe, there in close quarters for Estrada all night long. Whitaker gives it to you. Covers up again.
There it is.
And he doesn't move his head.
On cue. And the best one he's thrown tonight, Jason Estrada. Another example of him not fighting tall. Being an easy target for that uppercut.
Yeah, usually you have to go track down a tall guy. You got to figure out a way to get in without taking on too much damage to get in. But Whitaker does the work for you. He just comes in and gives up that height. One of the best physical assets that he has. The people in the corner of Whitaker, George Payon and Henry and David Herrera, they're the ones, they talked to me this afternoon. They said, Teddy, we dropped the weights, no more lifting weights, and we put him on a natural food diet for Whitaker, and that's how we got his weight down. But I said to him when they were telling me that, I said, that may serve him physically, but he still has to go in that ring and make sure that he finds a way technically to use his height. He's not doing that right now.
Most confident version of Jason Estrada I can recall seeing. You saw that stat moments ago. Our punch track showed you that Lance Whitaker yet to land a jab. Lands a right hand there.
Hit him behind his back.
You can see that Estrada very calm inside. All that amateur experience, he sees everything coming. He can dip, he can slip a little.
Closing moments of round number 3. Whitaker, Estrada scheduled for 10. Thanks, PK.
Adding up.
The uppercuts of Jason Estrada have been a big story so far.
Well, we talked about it in the fight plan, and so far, it's been there for Estrada. Now what he needs to do, to be quite honest with you, he's picking up the head of Whitaker with the right uppercut. Now he has to chop it off with the left hook. I don't mean literally chop it off, so all you parents out there that are running for the controls now and making sure that your kids, you know, don't get nervous or scared.
No, not a horror film here.
I don't mean cut it off. I just mean finish off with that left hook and maybe win the fight right on the spot.
Today's scorecard has Estrada up 3 rounds to zip. Lance Whitaker said, hey, this is going to be a short fight. I'm going to get rid of him.
Well, if he's going to get rid of him, he's going to do it the wrong way, by giving up his height and fighting small, because he is not fighting tall.
See the hand speed of Estrada. You get glimpses of it. Whitaker trying to come around that guard with a right hand. That right hand off the mark again from Whitaker.
See, that's where naked right hands don't serve a real good purpose sometimes, Joe, because Whitaker threw a naked right hand. There was no setup, no blinding behind the jab. Estrada saw it coming. You could see it. He laid back on the ropes, and he just dipped his right shoulder back a little bit, got his left shoulder up, and he made sure that right hand never found the target.
For the casual sports fan sitting at home, that word naked in this sport, not unlike the word naked in football. When a quarterback comes on a naked bootleg, nobody's out there lead blocking for him.
Absolutely.
Nothing's out there leading and setting the table with the jab for the right hand. It's coming by itself, just like the quarterback would come naked by himself.
There has to be strategy. There has to be technique. There has to be a setup, usually, to be able to land a real telling punch.
Estrada letting those hands go as Lance came in for a combination. Short right hand by Whitaker on the inside. Estrada gets out the side door, starts circling around, up on his toes, snaps out a jab. Whitaker back, forcing him against the ropes. Good flurry there at the end of 4.
Listen to KFC Toast.
Estrada being not only quick with his hands, but quick with his brain, because Whitaker was covering up like this, putting the earmuffs on. Now, these punches won't get in. But when you cover up like that, you notice Estrada started adjusting his punch, looping it around. I don't think it's just because he's throwing a wide punch. He's trying to get around behind the ear, and you see the examples right now as you watch right here. And you can see Estrada, that is not just bad form. That is planned. That is a right hand that's trying to get to the only place where there can be an opening and where there can be real success. Around the glove, around the ear of Whitaker.
When we sat with Estrada yesterday and said, so how are you going to go and win this fight? He said, you know, just using my boxing skill and my natural ability, I will win this fight. But he did recognize that he wants to take a slightly more aggressive approach. He's maturing into that pro style, coming off of his long and successful amateur career. Ahead on Teddy's scorecard, 40-36, sweeping the first 4 rounds.
You know,
let's look at the punch track numbers, and specifically the headshots, where Estrada holds a 104 and counting to 28 advantage over Mount Whitaker.
again, Whitaker's defense, and there's 3 lines of defense. You can move your head, you can block, or you can use your legs. Whitaker strictly blocks, just covers up like a mount, and he hopes that things just bounce off. Not off his head, but off his arms. And that can be dangerous because when you cover up like Whitaker does, you're handcuffing yourself. You're taking a moment that you're basically telling your opponent, Joe, I'm not going to punch right now. So you can put punches together on me while I'm covered up. And Estrada, for the most part, is taking advantage of that. Whitaker turns southpaw for a split second.
Turns southpaw there, and then turns back orthodox when Lupina warns him of jousting with that left hand.
That was a good right hand landed just a moment ago by Whitaker, his best shot of the fight. And I don't know why he turned southpaw. He just had success from the orthodox position with that right hand. And then he turns southpaw and takes himself out of position where he had success.
That's good.
This is the best round so far as anything effective by Whitaker.
I wonder if that plays into a lot of what we talked about with the inactivity, that he's only had that one round since December of 2005, that he needed the first half of this fight just to shake loose some of that rust, get back into a groove.
I would say that there could be merit to that. We've talked about that before. It takes time to get that motor running when you haven't been on the highway. You've been sitting idly in the garage.
Up on the belt. Coming to the halfway point of our 10-round heavyweight main event. The pride of Providence is sitting ringside here just north of Providence. Peter Manfredo Jr., of course, has starred in our air many times, coming off of a very, very interesting and disappointing 2007, the loss to Joe Calzaghe, and then a fight against Jeff Lacey that was there for the taking. He's coming off a win here just last month. Round 6, Lance Whitaker against Jason Estrada. Teddy Atlas's scorecard, first round that Whitaker takes, so it goes 49-46 Estrada. Let's bring in our guest studio analyst tonight, cruiserweight BJ Flores. BJ, I look back to your fight against Darnell Wilson when you boxed your way to victory, but the crowd reacted in a sour way. They were booing at times with your style. Estrada has had much of the same criticism without much of the same success throughout his career. Tell me about what it is to have that mentality of being a boxer and getting things accomplished, even though it may not be the most fan-friendly fight.
I mean, styles make fights, Joe, and sometimes you got to box the right fight regardless of what the crowd thinks. I think Jason Estrada is doing a pretty good job here tonight. I would like to see him be a little more selective with his punches, but I think he's won the first 4 rounds. The last round was debatable. Whitaker did a little better, but I would like to see him be a little more selective. I'm concerned about him getting a little tired down the stretch, but I think he's been pretty entertaining so far, and he's doing a good job.
BJ, what do you think? Sometimes you're in the midst of a fight, you know, you got the upper hand, and your opponent maybe starts getting a little frustrated. Right now, I'm watching Whitaker turning southpaw, turning back to orthodox, turning southpaw. You know, he's confusing me a little bit. He's going back and forth. If you're the fighter in the ring with a fighter that starts behaving that way, what are you thinking in your head? What's that doing for you?
Exactly what you just said, Teddy. Whenever you said he just switched to southpaw in the last round, I said exactly that. I said he's confused. You know, keep driving home what you're doing. You can tell the other fighter's confused when he's doing that. He's looking for answers. He doesn't know how to. Jason's talking to him now. He doesn't know how to be able to, how to overcome whatever's going on in the ring. So I think if Jason sticks to what he's doing and stays focused and poised, I think he'll continue to dominate this fight.
We'll see if he can do that. BJ Flores, our guest studio analyst tonight, who busted out the home video showing his old days as a wide receiver. Well-skilled, natural athlete is BJ.
You know what, BJ, and I agree with him. That's why I asked him that question. What he just substantiated, if we're both right, that Whitaker is getting frustrated, and he's showing it by turning southpaw, going back and forth. It's kind of like a polygraph test for a fighter right there. You know, the fighter never wants to show you how he feels. Well, he's showing you how he feels by going back and forth and wasting time.
The elbow.
Whitaker Estrada, end of 6.
ESPN.
The weighty issues of Jason Estrada. He's been from 238 to 250 in his 11 wins and his 1 loss, his career high at 257. He was over 260 when he had that disappointing effort in the 2004 Olympic Games. His father, Roland, who's an optometrist here in Rhode Island, is his trainer and manager. Comes from a boxing family. Round 7, scheduled for 10. Trying to box his way to victory against the former heavyweight contender Lance Mount Whitaker, ahead on Teddy's scorecard. 5 rounds to 1.
You know, that graphic that we just showed, so important for any fight. I mean, any athlete, you got to be in top shape physically. That's your responsibility. Then it comes to the mental aspects, it comes to the technical aspects, and it comes to God-given talent, obviously. But a lot of times the mental part has a lot to do with the physical part, because if you know you're in shape, you're a little stronger mentally. And I think that conditioning means even more to an athlete like Estrada. I mean, he's got speed. I think he's showing you don't have a lot of power. He fights in spots. And if you don't have power, that means you're going to be going rounds. You don't need me to tell that. It means you got to be in shape if you're going to go rounds and don't have that big eraser like some heavyweights to suddenly end it.
The average jabs thrown, remember, 6'8" Lance Whitaker, but the jabs not a big factor until he showed up in the last round. Punch track numbers say that he has only landed 1 jab in this fight so far. Teddy, you were broadcasting those 2004 Olympic Games, so you've followed the story of Jason Estrada throughout. How big of a disappointment was it with the effort that he put forth and the conditioning and the shape that he was in? And then we saw that post-fight, post-Olympic quote where he said, well, if I'm going to lose, I don't want to get hit that much. How big of a disappointment was he back then?
No, it was very disappointing. I mean, I think it was disappointing to everybody involved, to his teammates, to everybody on the American team. He was the heavyweight. He had won many top international amateur tournaments. He had beaten a Cuban already. People thought he was going to win a gold medal. And then to lose it, not being in the top physical shape, that only added to the disappointment.
Whitaker working a little more. And to think what it means to be an American heavyweight who wins a gold medal. I mean, you're punching your ticket into, you know, promoter signing bonuses and guaranteed TV exposure and the marketing and the force that comes with that.
Absolutely. And again, you know, it's important for any athlete to be in shape, but depending on your style and your gifts, your physical gifts, some more than others. Some guys who are big, tremendous punchers, I'm not saying don't be in shape, but they can get away with it. A guy like Estrada cannot get away with it. He's got to be able to go rounds and throw a lot of punches, and he's got to be in shape. And he is tonight.
Here to end the 7th. Joe Tessitore, Teddy Atlas with you ringside. Jason Estrada making his way out. Round number 8 against Lance Mount Whitaker. Estrada, 11 wins, 1 loss. Trying to get back as a competitive heavyweight prospect. Feels that he's matured mentally and physically, getting his weight down, refocused. Working the jab here against Whitaker. Ahead on Teddy's scorecard, 69-64.
Whitaker's been knocked out twice in his last 5 fights. And to touch on the weight again, Whitaker coming in 21 pounds lighter than his last fight a month and a half ago, which represents the lightest weight of Whitaker's 11-year and 9-month career. But that is not helping him right now because he's given up his height, he's covering up, and he's allowing a quicker-handed Estrada to have his way.
Such a drastic change just to see Lance Whitaker, this slimmed-down version of Lance Whitaker.
And there goes Whitaker turning southpaw again. And as me and BJ talked about, maybe once again, another sign of Whitaker being frustrated.
Now he switches back to orthodox. Jason Estrada, trained and managed by his father, Dr. Roland Estrada, an optometrist here in Rhode Island, who has watched his son develop. In fact, Jason himself has taken great pride in teaching youngsters how to box. He has 13 local kids at what he calls the Big 6 Boxing Academy here in Providence. Estrada at times spent a good portion of his career with Peter Manfredo's father.
Again, that right uppercut is there for Estrada. Now, again, we didn't come in here with expectations of Estrada scoring a knockout. That's not what he does. He's got quick hands. Now he's got his weight down. He can move those hands. But if he wanted to really be able to stand out tonight on national TV and try to get a knockout over a guy who's been knocked out twice, I think the way to go the last couple rounds, Joe, concentrate on that right uppercut. It's been there all night, and then put a left hook on top. Instead of one, make it two. The old timers used to say to me, why should you hit the guy with one punch if you can hit him with two? Seems like a pretty simple premise.
Makes a lot of sense. Whitaker trying to get off with that right hand now. Missed with the uppercut. Now comes with a left uppercut. Just working a little more here in round 8. Most punches he's thrown in any round. Just north of downtown Providence, gambling and entertainment facility. And for the first time, hosting Friday night fights. And it's been a very entertaining evening. We saw the emergence of unbeaten cruiserweight Aaron Williams, a thriller between David Whittam and Joey Spina. Spina winning by split decision. And now Jason Estrada trying to work his way towards his 12th win against the most experienced opponent that he has faced. He leaves Lance Whitaker on Teddy's scorecard 79-73.
Talk about that experience. That's one thing Whitaker has. He's fought 2 former world champs, won 1, and was knocked out by 1. But that experience not manifesting itself into anything effective tonight.
Speaking of experiences, Teddy, on behalf of everybody on our crew, we want to send our congratulations to the Baczynski family, our director Rick Baczynski, his wife Lisa, and his first son Benjamin, as they welcomed home Charles Baczynski to their family last night.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And their son Benjamin was very happy.
Big brother's going to have a lot of fun. Estrada back against the ropes, just pushing Whitaker away and then offering up a right hand as Whitaker was hesitating there.
And again, that right uppercut's there. I'm going to try to find something exciting about this fight if it kills me. That right uppercut is there for Estrada. He can concentrate on it when he gets inside. And then he needs to put something on top of it.
Step back! Step back! Good job.
And give credit to Estrada trying to be creative there, taking a little page out of the Mike Tyson book, minus the power. He threw a right hand to the body around the elbow, and then he tried to rip that uppercut up. And you can see now, Estrada, the confidence growing, and the repertoire of punches growing with it.
What would that combination be on your numbered heavy bag there?
Well, the right hand to the body would be a 6, and then, of course, switch to a 4. 6-4.
6-4. The old Willie system, right?
Yes, absolutely.
From the late 60s. Of course, under the tutelage of Customato, Teddy had mastered that number system. And then Saul's out of a job.
No, I never let Saul be out of a job. Oh, he's my guy.
So we will have 1 round to go between Whitaker and Estrada. 10th and final round. Rhode Island's own Jason Estrada looking for a solid win in front of his home fans against former heavyweight contender Lance "Mount" Whitaker. Punch track numbers. And you see Estrada 199 to the head, 40 to the body. Whitaker has landed more body shots. That long, lean body of Whitaker inviting target, but Estrada's had success to the head. 239 to 138.
I like the action here in the last round of Estrada, you know, not just playing it safe, going forward and trying to put an exclamation point on this win here, but I'm not so sure every corner man would love to see their guy who's well ahead in the fight pressing forward with a big guy late in the fight in the last round, because a lot of people would argue, why take a chance? A lot of people would say, now you're giving the big guy the one opportunity he needs. And you can see Whitaker starting to warm up a little bit in this last round.
And isn't it ironic that Jason Estrada is a guy that's been criticized for not taking chances throughout his career?
So I know, exactly. So I'm not going to knock him for standing there and going after the guy, but as far as a strategy, a strategic standpoint, you want to know when, like that song says, when to hold them and when to fold them. I don't know if you're Estrada, you want to be holding them right now. You don't want to be raising right now. You might want to be just saying, hey, I got a pat hand. Let me go home with the pot.
Watch your heads, guys.
Whitaker trying to drive down that right hand. Estrada ties up that left arm of Whitaker's against the ropes. Now they separate. Just over 60 seconds to go here in this fight.
I think Estrada got convinced to stay outside, think about a little bit more defense after pressing early on and tasted a little leather from Whitaker. I think it started to click into his head a little bit. Hey, I'm ahead in this fight. Maybe I better not give Whitaker these opportunities. And you can see Estrada doing some tying up and some moving right now, trying to take some time off that clock.
Watch your head.
I'm sure a lot of our great fans are saying, where was this effort from Whitaker earlier in the night? Moving his hands a little bit more this round than he has in many.
Estrada just trying to coast home here and survive the closing moments against Lance Whitaker. Fights his way through it. Throwing a little something extra after the bell. Meant a lot to him. Looking good in front of the home fans. We'll come back and hear from the judges after this. Wrap up Friday night fights here in Rhode Island. The Just for Men hair color punch track fight recap. Jason Estrada landed 100 more punches than Lance Whitaker. Teddy Atlas's scorecard, 98-92. Estrada, he seemed to control throughout, just a couple bursts of offense from Whitaker. Let's see what the judges here ringside had to say, and for that, we send it to John Vina.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the Twin River Event Center here in Lincoln, Rhode Island, we have your scores after 10 rounds of boxing. Judge Clint Feldman scores the bout 97-93, while judges Eddie Sconzio and Stephen Schultz score the bout 98-92, all to your winner by unanimous decision, Jason Big Six Estrada.
So an important win in the career of Jason Estrada. He is now 12-1. And as he said, it's time to go down to Federal Hill and get some za. He can celebrate here in his hometown.